Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Skill Issues. It's actually episode 10, everybody. It's episode 10. We've made it. We've gotten past the statistic of podcasts failing before they get to 10 episodes. Woo! We've done it. And today, it's a very special episode, not only because it's the 10th, because we've got two special faces here. Obviously, Hazza, the normal suspect here, our meme lord, and also my ex-partner in crime. My girlfriend is jealous of him every time she sees us together or doesn't see us together. It's Kremer, everybody. Yeah, welcome to the podcast, mate.
You know it goes both ways, right? I'm jealous every time I see your girlfriend with you. Like it's this is a two-way street, and I know you're in Cyprus. You're just a flight away from her. That hurts me quite a lot, to be honest. 'Cause right now you could be in England with me, but you chose to be in Cyprus. I guess I forgive you. I mean we're here, so I suppose we'll have to power through it.
It is what it is. Yeah, it's a jealous story. It's a love triangle. What can you do? These things happen. But I want to give a little bit of an introduction to Kremer first. We used to be my ex co-caster, right? My partner in crime, but not only in Valorant, but we had like this sort of backstory in Counter-Strike as well. I think we started our esports venture very early on, 2020, I think. So we started at the same time, so we've been together this entire journey. We've lived it together, and you've kind of been my backbone as well. You know, whenever I talk about people that you need to have people around you in order to succeed and have a support system. That's Kremer's who I'm talking about, just for a reference for everybody
You're
at
gonna make
home.
me blush.
Of course, mate. Of course.
But yeah,
How
I'm
you
just a
doing?
fly on the wall, man. I'm here enjoying it while we got this, wholesome heart-to-heart going on. But it's nice to see because, it's like the second half, to
Yeah.
Pavlos and having him on
Mhm.
having him on here every single week. So yeah, we've broken into the 10 club. I don't really know what that means, but if it means more episodes, then I'm here for it, and I'm looking forward to some of the topics that we've got today.
100%. And talking about topics, I think we can get right into the juice. We usually go about talking about what happened recently in the world of gaming and esports, and I think one very notable thing that has happened is that the Counter-Strike major just concluded this past weekend. It was an epic major. I think we criticized the RMR leading up to it as well. There was some worrying premises. There were some worrying moments leading up to it because the game didn't seem ready. It seemed that the organizer wasn't up to snuff. But overall, I feel like this was a tremendous event. RMR
Mhm.
PGL did a really good job, rebounded from the last major that they were managed to cover. Kremer, I know you've had a big Counter-Strike pass. What were
Mhm.
your interpretations of it?
I mean, I think I completely agree. After the RMR, I was a little bit worried about the event being a bit of a failure, especially because you're going into CS2. It's new game. It's an unfinished game. Let's be honest. So obviously there's going to be some question marks there. I think this major was partly carried by the storylines of the players. It was also partly carried by the fact that some unnamed sites decided to just rush the stage halfway through, so any technical delays were sort of removed from that day because everyone was talking about the stage being rushed. And so, really, sort of, it was a culmination of circumstance and just the final chapters of a lot of stories within Counter Strike.
Yeah, what about you, Hazza? You mentioned a story earlier while we
Mhm.
were talking about it. You did put a cheeky bet on the finals that got you your cab
Sure,
ride
man.
home.
Sure. Yeah. No, the third taxi which pulled up to my address was the one which eventually took me to watch the final with my friends. And yeah, look, I was hoping that Navi would take it home. They got the result, so it's
Mhm.
nice to see. But I agree with what Kremer said there. I felt like when all of this stuff is going on, the Counter Strike is always going to be at the very epicenter, at the crux of what is going on and what the event looks like, and the narrative was really nice here. So look, into the final, you've got two clashing storylines. I think honestly, whichever way it goes, it probably ends up being a good tournament. You had Carrigan on home soil for his first major in CS2 with this FaZe team that's just had Frozen come in, and he's starting to look like the real deal, and things are going their way.
Mhm.
But then it's a map 3, it's Inferno, it's all the same worries and problems that you had against Cloud9 when they choked it there, but this time it's even worse because they just got absolutely spanked. Na'Vi turning it around from a second map which looked so one-sided. I genuinely thought that it was just going to be a shift towards, having the Danish hometown hero, if you will, like hoisting the trophy in the middle of the arena. The trophy which was, super glued back together, like Kremer said, because it fell on the guy's head when he rushed on stage.
Oh,
but
man.
overall, I would say, yeah, it was a very good tournament. And to see someone like Alexi B as well, who has not been without his issues, and I'll sort of leave the analogy to Kremer to sort of give to you there. But yeah, I think it's a nice way to tie that one up.
I think we're about to see some sick highlights as well from Carrigan. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm surprised they fit it into 14 seconds because
for the audio listeners right now, there's a video playing where Carrigan found 1 kill the entire map.
Yeah, and to just sort of add on what Kremer was saying to us earlier when we were discussing, it's the classic. For those who grew up in the UK, they'd know horrible histories. They'd know that there was a song that went with Henry VIII's wives that he had, and this one is applicable to Alexi B. Divorced, beheaded, and died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. So finally, he's sort of stuck onto a team. Which, let's face it, when that Na'Vi project came in at the start, there were lots of people saying like, "Yeah, we're cooked, man. Like, what? We've got rid of Simple. He's not playing. All of those legacy players are gone. We've just kept on to Bit. Like, I don't think this is going to be enough."
Yeah.
But Ima, who already made a grand final in Paris, JL, who had a brilliant run with Apex, both come in and they prove that they're worth it.
Didn't it feel weird for you guys as well, Kremer, for you specifically? Because for me, not having Simple there and Na'Vi felt off, felt weird.
He's been with them for so long now. It does feel weird to see a Na'Vi without Simple. However, Simple made the decision to step down. There's no world in which Simple gets dropped. So every like woe that could be with Na'Vi they finally win a major. It's the first one on CS2 and Simple isn't there. That's by his own volition. Like that was a Simple decision. That was not a Na'Vi decision. It probably wasn't a Simple decision, but it was a decision made by Simple. And so, but either way, like it's any woe to him there seems self-inflicted. Especially when you consider the fact that on paper, he gets any spot on that team before the major, at least, when you look at the existing roster and the sort of the name power that anyone on Na'Vi currently has.
He's the GOAT.
He's the GOAT. Technically,
exactly.
from the bench, that's another bit of silverware, right? It counts. He didn't appear. He was the moral support, so...
It's like being the chef of the Michelin star kitchen, or the pot wash even.
The pot wash, yeah, I was going to say. Yeah. As long as you're not having any direct involvement with the food, then sure.
I mean, if the trophy doesn't appear on your Airchill TV profile, then it doesn't count.
Okay, sure.
That's
Does
true.
it? Can we get a quick VAR check on Simple's HLTV page? I'm already on it. I've got it bookmarked. And yeah, no.
You've got it bookmarked.
It sent me... I've typed in Simple. It's taken me to Na'Vi. So I guess if he is the embodiment of the team... no, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it.
He doesn't have it. There you go.
That's a rough one.
Fair enough. I mean, you've got to make an appearance for it to count. I think it would be a bit...
I suppose. Actually, it is quite considerate of him. Obviously, what's happened is you see how on HLTV there's a long list of trophies, and you have to scroll to see all of them. He doesn't want there to be an overflow error from too many trophies, and he doesn't want to create a buffer error on HLTV. He doesn't want to break the whole website. So this is actually really considerate of him to not want to get another trophy for the sanctity of the website.
And to let the new Ukrainian talent start to flourish through, because for those who watched, Wonderful, I think, had a brilliant showing.
Yeah.
And I tweeted out about it as well. Like, on that final map, he did shoot one of his teammates in the back of the head on a retake. But then, a couple rounds later, he's hitting a 3-piece, which is putting them out of sight. So, 19 years of age, just came, a few months ago out of a Sprout team, which is now disbanded as an org, which is really sad because... They were like a feeder team, and I think we spoke about this in a previous episode, like how some organizations do just have to swallow that tough pill of the fact that they're never going to be competitive because they have that model of like selling their players to continue. But this guy's the real deal, man, and it's nice to see.
I mean, it follows track with what's happening in other esports as well. Like the young guns are just hitting different, Doesn't matter how much experience you have. If you're one of the strongest shooters on the server and on the day you have the best performance, you can do anything. And yeah, this time it was Navi, and Carrigan goes without another major trophy. Uh, Damn, I feel sorry for him, man. He's done so much
It-
for the Counter-Strike scene, but he just can't grasp a major.
It's like the one that you want as well, right? In your own
Yeah.
backyard in Copenhagen, as the one
Oof.
Danish player who was still alive in the knockout stages of the competition. After Ecstatic went out in the group phase or whatever it was. I think I guess you have Glaive on Ents as well, but like Heroic also made it through. Like I think Danish Counter-Strike right now is in such a weird position, to be honest. But yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
It is where it is. Well, that was the major, and we're looking forward to more Counter-Strike coming up, and with CS2 becoming a better game day by day. It's good to see. Talking about a different Valve game, it's Team Fortress 2, and for anybody that was born around the time that Kremer and I have and has, we're all pretty much the same age, right?
Yep.
We know what that is. Anybody else that is younger, then you might not. I think because we were somewhat of the last wave of adopters of that game. Kremer,
Yes.
what's going on there? You were mentioning it prior to
Okay.
this podcast. I've been so absent from the scene for a while, but you just dropped a bomb. I need to know what it is.
I'm gonna have to give a bit of backstory here before we explain where the current state of TF2 is. So a couple of years ago, Valve decided, you know what, TF2, let's just kill it. No one cares about this game, right? Overwatch exists. TF2 had at the time about 50k players weekly, which really isn't that much. Really isn't that much. For reference, that's about a fraction of the amount like Hearthstone gets. Just so you understand.
That's like an eighth of a PAL world, you know?
It's an eighth of a PAL world. So, however, those 50k players are consistent. So it's always had 50k players. But Valve decided, nah, we don't care about them. So what they did is they cut the amount of developers working on TF2 down to one. There is one guy at Valve who works on TF2, and that's all he does.
John Fortress.
And so, in retaliation to
Let's
this,
call him Bob.
we'll call
Good
him
on you,
Bob. Yeah, and so in retaliation to Bob being the sole TF2 guy, a wave of bots were unleashed onto the server. There's, I want to say, about 5 or 6 server farms where they just have all of these bots joining servers and just spin botting. It's to the point now where community servers and just casual is unplayable because of these bots. And they all have the same name. And it started with MYGT, which was one of the first like bot iterations, and that was fairly rudimentary. These bots, they'll join, they'd AFK, they'll spin bot every now and then, but you could kick them, they were fairly obvious, and you could go from there. Then that evolved into the Twilight Sparkles, and the Twilight Sparkles were pretty damn good, because those are just spin bots, where they were just literally like a Beyblade, let it rip, out of spawn, off they go. Then that evolved, and you then had these more bots come up. There's a period of time where they were called hard R killers, and you can imagine what hard R is.
Oh no.
Val, because of that, there was 6 months where those bots were in every single server. It was unavoidable. And if you wanted to play TF2, you'd have to find a server where there aren't that many bots on, get your friends on, kick the bots, and then hope the actual players who join would then also keep kicking the bots over the course of the match. Every time. And there's actually quite a bit of chivalry between the players in TF2 now, because it's us versus them. It's like playing Malevolent Creek trying to play a TF2 match.
You are literally playing man versus machine in every game mode. So for those who don't know, that is the robot v game mode that you could play. Like
absolutely.
Got released ages ago now.
And so eventually they'll be kicked. However, the hard R killers, that was the only one Valve took action on. And they thought, hey, we took action on this, we banned all the accounts, we'll be fine. 2 weeks later, Orange Madness comes along, exactly the same thing, different name, and that's evolved. They then had the Waffen SS bots, those went up pretty quickly, and as of 2 days ago, we've now been filled with Omegatronics. And Omegatronics, over the last 2 days, have got considerably more popular, to the point now where you're getting about 5 or 6 bots in your game. Now, that's a problem, because if they're on the same team, the minimum amount of no votes before a kick gets cancelled is 4. So if you have 5 bots on the other team, you can't kick them because all of them just vote no to each other.
Oh my god!
And so you're stuck with 5 spin botters every single game.
So
the cat and mouse game continues.
What's the point of botting? Because I remember when I used to play TF2, people would bot or to kind of AFK farm items. That was a thing. What's the point of botting now? Like, what do they get out of
TF2
it?
mentioned I love hats.
Yeah, pretty much. And so with botting in TF2, what you get from doing it is you essentially destroy the server, but you also, because your bots are the only ones on the server, you get all the drops. You get all the items that get dropped, which you can then there's crafting in TF2. I could say this is exactly how it works, but you get a lot of shit you can take apart essentially. And that's the only appeal to these bots.
Wow.
That, and you are forcing Valve to do something. There is it's like the vigilante approach, and then there's the good approach. The good approach is forum posts and sending emails to the one developer. Obviously, not telling him to kill himself, instead giving him support and all of that. And then, then there's the other side, right? The other side is where the bots come in, where they go, okay, Valve don't care, let's force them to care. Obviously, if we just plaster the SS logo all over TF2 with our bots, Valve have to do something. Otherwise, it's just Nazis everywhere. And so Valve, as you can imagine, were forced to do something when the bots had the hard R in their name, or they were called Waffen SS. And so every time that happened, a bit of hope is kindled. A bit of hope is kindled. You think, oh, ban the bots! Oh my god, we're gonna have like 2 days where we can actually play the game.
We're finally gonna get the heavy rework.
Yeah.
The heavy update is coming. The classes are gonna change. We're gonna get some new skins as well.
Never happening, has it?
Maybe I'll even get the golden frying pan in my inventory. And I can write a 2-hour video essay on why it's the best game of all time.
Goodness.
That's the
Actually,
only thing
I
that can
have
save my attention span at this point.
I have a fun mini game that all of you guys can play, for the viewers and for you guys as well. Which is, we've all played TF2. I imagine all of us played TF2 when we were quite young. Back
it was
when
free
that
on
was a
Steam,
thing.
wasn't it? You know, like
Yes,
it was like the
and
first
so
game that got shoved down your throat as soon as you opened it up.
Before then, it was called the Orange Box. If you remember that.
Yep.
And so, if you got the orange box, you got something called vintage crafting material. And so at the time, everyone had it, so it didn't fucking matter. Because it was like 3 pence. So you just chuck it on something and it becomes vintage. Is what it is. Nowadays, that's worth £700. So if you want to quickly just take a glance through your inventory, see if you have some vintage scrap in there. It's like a purple little thing. If you do, then nice, you're £700 richer. You probably have it in there and forgot about it. Because that's what everyone else
I know
did.
for a fact I don't. I never purchased the Orange Box. So obviously, Orange Box was the first Half-Life game, was it? Or was it the Half-Life Part 2?
It was Half-Life 1, Half-Life 2, Portal 2, and
Counter-Strike.
No, it was Portal 1. It was the first Portal
game. 1. No, it's Portal 1. You're right.
Portal 1 and
Portal
Counter-Strike something.
Because
it was one of the Counter-Strike games.
Source,
and a Counter-Strike zombie
it was
game.
Counter-Strike Source.
There
That
was
was
a
Condition
zombie game.
Zero was the zombie
Condition
one, and
Zero?
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure Condition Zero wasn't in the Orange Box. But
Was it?
The Condition Zero wasn't in the Orange Box.
No,
Okay, fair.
Dude, Portal is an amazing game though. And like, just to go on a tangent for a moment, so like that went in the Orange Box because they literally bought out 2 students who had made a game with the Portal mechanics and thought it was really cool. So they were like, let's just push a game. And I have to say that's probably the game that single player game I've ran through the most, because you can do it in like an hour. It doesn't really take very long to just like go through all of the levels. It's pretty chill.
And there are actually some really good community maps going on right now as well in Portal 2, like co-op community maps as well, that are that continue the story of the main game and also continue the difficulty as well. Like the difficulty of those community maps start where the difficulty stops for the main game.
Yeah.
So there's like some high level maps out there right now I've tried to play recently, and I'm really enjoying it. Actually, I want to get back into it now. I just want to play after this podcast. Mate.
I think that's literally like Valve's approach as a whole, and this is kind of the discussion that we wanted to open up here, that the games are very simplistic, but a lot of the fun is made from the community. And you think of that for like Counter-Strike as well. Like Counter-Strike at its core was a mod of Half-Life Deathmatch or something in the first place, right? Like it wasn't even initially made until you had like, you know, it get published as
like Day of Defeat,
CS
didn't you,
and
as well?
Source and everything, right? And like Orange Box releases and stuff like that. Portal as well, like the community maps are obviously a big part of it. Portal 2 came out in 2011 now, so it's been 13 years since we had like a Portal game, unless you're talking about the VR ones, which is just a tech demo. It's just a tech demo for whatever Valve have going on. And like, yeah, and TF2, like the community that still exists are just people who want to play the game because they enjoy the game. Maybe it's the trading, maybe it's like, you know,
The
whatever
nostalgia.
rocket jumping map that they have, or something like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the approach for Valve, is very hands off.
They literally made a game called Gmod, right? With the entire premise of it is like, here's an engine, make whatever the hell out of it you want.
It's
And that's what
literally,
made that
it's
game
literally the
legendary.
sandbox, right? It's like, here is
Yeah.
the sandbox.
Do what you want.
Yeah.
It's
Good luck.
yeah, it's Valve's approach. It's very different to any other company out there. Like, I don't know any other company that does anything
To
like
have
this.
to quickly wrap up the TF2 point. Would you like two anecdotes I've heard from the TF2 competitive scene,
Okay.
which I think you'll find very funny.
Okay.
So the first one is, I need to emphasize, at the top of TF2, there's about 15 teams, if that, maybe about 10. So they all know each other really well. And for those who are in the TF2 scene, they will know exactly who I'm talking about right now. And I'm not going to name names because we don't want to get this taken down. However, those who know who I'm talking about will probably be able to come in and give little anecdotes as well. But there is a guy who spends the majority of his day playing the equivalent of Face-It lobbies in TF2. And it's all he'll do. And his girlfriend will work as a nurse. She will come back, and that girlfriend will then go on to play medic for their Premier team.
No.
And what would happen is this guy would, in the middle of like, say she drops Uber. Now that's when you have a full Uber charge as your medic and you die before you can use it. Dropping Uber is like a big fucking deal. So you don't want to drop Uber. If someone snipes you and you lose that Uber, that's considered like a round losing like moment. She'll drop Uber and you would hear him mute his mic, but still on her mic, you would hear him yelling at her and just berating her. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Do you have any idea how fucking hard this is? You're playing medic. It's the easiest class in the game. What? And then you would go on and just flame her for about 5
That's
minutes.
insane.
And
Oh my god.
that was and that would consistently happen. Now I heard this story a couple of years ago, and I found it very funny, and it's one that stayed at the forefront of my mind for quite a while.
The funniest
Until
part
last
for
night.
me is just the fact that his wife is the nurse, right? And she's going her from
she's
being
the one
a
who makes
nurse
the money
to playing the
He's at home all
medic.
day and plays
Like,
TF2.
this is where the lines are a bit blurred. When do you get a break? You know what I mean?
Exactly. But until last night, I found out not only are they both still competing, they're doing the exact same thing. It still happens. So
That's
they were-
hilarious.
They would commit together. And I remember a friend of a friend of a friend sat down with her one day and went, "Why are you even with him? Like this isn't healthy."
Yeah.
Okay.
And she, between sniffles, went, "Green card."
No way!
No, bro.
Oh my god. Well, that's TF2, everybody.
I really hope.
That's TF2.
I should also, actually, while we're going on about TF2, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. Do you want to know what the ban from the ETF2L forums is for cheating?
Go
What?
on.
If you cheat in ETF2L, the ban is permanent. You're permanently banned, no longer allowed back on the forums in
Yeah,
any
that's fair.
capacity.
Yeah.
Do you know what the punishment is for paedophilia?
Oh,
Oh my, no.
it's probably
What?
less, isn't it?
What?
6 months.
Oh my
Oh my
god,
God.
what is this?
Okay, so not only are we
Alright.
ending relationships potentially if people watch this episode, we're making huge generalizations about the TF2 community, which I can
Oh
corroborate
my
to a certain
God.
extent, because when I was researching TF2 and, you know, what's going on in the community, hashtag TF2, the amount of like overweight fan art heavy that I saw on
Oh
my
my
timeline was way
It's-
more than I was expecting.
I mean, if the only
yeah.
fans left are the die-hard fans, and by that I mean
Mm.
die-hard to the power of 10, then what do you
no.
expect?
Look,
Anyway,
I thought we were going in a different direction than when you said
Yeah.
OnlyFans, so I'm glad that we've managed to dodge
No,
that one as well.
no, I wasn't going
Let's
there. No,
carry
don't
on,
worry.
let's carry on.
Yeah, let's carry on. TF2 is a meme. It will continue to be a meme. Hopefully, one day it comes back in some capacity and it's playable and brings back
Please do.
nostalgia for the players that used to play it. But we're
See you
moving
in the
on.
next iSeries.
See you in the
See you at
next
the
live
next live
series. Long live TF2, I guess.
If any Premier players are watching this, hey, do you guys want to join my Open team?
All right, I think it's time for the main part of this podcast. I think we all want to meet Kremer a little bit more. A bit of a backstory, like we said at the start of the podcast, he used to be my duo, but also a caster for the longest of times. But now your direction professionally has kind of changed, right? You're now a coach. And so you're not only a coach, but you've also moved across the pond over the Atlantic Ocean and gone to the US to be a coach. So talk to me about this process. What was in your mind when you said, all right, caster journey is at least on pause, might not be over, but let's put it on pause and let's go be a coach. How did that come about?
So, as you know, I quite like geopolitics. I can talk for ages about them, whether it be modern developments, whether it be how countries interact, whether it be how language evolves, anything like that. I'm pretty on top of it. Me and my brother, we mapped the entire Burma Civil War before pretty much anyone. We got there like 4 months before Wikipedia. Like, really, we were on top of that. And I really enjoy doing that. It's just something I like. However, as a caster, you have to be apolitical, you have to be impartial. And it's very hard to follow geopolitics while walking on eggshells constantly with fear of career repercussions. For instance, I did humanitarian work in Ukraine about a year ago, and I still can't really talk about that on my Twitter because of there being Russian followers, Russian sponsors, and anything like that. And I'm kind of sick of that shit, to be honest. So we became a coach just so we can have a bit more freedom over what I say. Obviously, not full freedom, but I can talk a bit more about my actual interests, and I can talk about geopolitics without worrying about career repercussions, which was really the main objective from that.
Okay. So just for clarification here, obviously you can't still say everything that's going on in geopolitics, because if you're a geopolitics nerd, I imagine you go very deep into the lore of everything and
talk
how
for
things
a good 6-7 hours.
You still couldn't get into the depths of that because wherever you are, whatever you do, there's still a line that you can't cross.
Yeah. I'll think of an example actually for you, Pavlos. At Insomnia, which happened just now, the UK military was there. And they had what is a IFV, an infantry fighting vehicle, called an Ajax. It's spelt AJAX.
I know that team.
I think.
Yeah.
Like the football team.
I lived right next to the stadium.
He lived in Netherlands for how many years?
I literally lived in the neighborhood of that stadium.
There you go.
Perfect. Arena. There you go.
Spelt exactly like that. And so and on the top of that is a 25mm Bushmaster, very big fuck off gun that goes like that.
Oh,
and
wow.
it
What for the audio listeners? I'm glad you made that.
But I can do one better for the audio listeners. Do you want to see it in action? You see, can't do this as a caster.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
So while I don't have a video of an Ajax in action, I have a video of the American equivalent, which is an M2 Bradley. It still has 25mm Bushmaster, same gun at the top, except it has a different frame essentially. The Bradley's a little bit quicker, the Ajax is a little bit more armored. It's generally down to whatever preference your country has. Generally UK armor is a little bit more beefy. I don't know why they prefer it to be beefy, but that's just how it works.
Yeah.
If you look in our show 10 chat, by the way, that's an Ajax or a American equivalent in action. It's
I've
SFW.
seen it before. It's like the big red
wow.
lines that go very quickly. You know.
Those are
the way
called,
to dumb it down.
Those are C-rams, and those are air defense.
Yeah.
Okay. The trick with those is if you hear the, it means it wasn't at you.
I do have a fun little anecdote actually about Kremer and how much of an aficionado he is for these kind of things. Because I remember the last time we did a ranked stack together, and I feel as if it may have involved you as well, Pavlos. I did mention that I was going to a pub quiz later that evening. So Kremer then decided that he thought it would be a good opportunity to debut a set of pub quiz questions that he'd been coming up with on geopolitics, which featured questions ranging from I don't know, like who took part in the Second World War, to like what is the standard GDP of Tajikistan or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, none of us were gonna know what the answer was. But yeah,
I'm
this
glad
guy knows his
you
stuff.
reminded me of this.
This is
So
brilliant.
I
You should do a pub quiz.
what I should have warned you guys at the start was that quiz was made for a bunch of geopolitical fans who are like have spent their whole life like interested in the hobby as well, and so they were deliberately really hard questions.
Is that what the,
Oh my
what the
God.
hobby is then? So
Okay.
you know how you'd have a hobbyist like, oh, I like making model trains, like, oh, I like fleshing out
it's
quizzes
just
about.
following it. It's following. It's very
Yeah.
it's interesting just how countries interact. And like I think a good example at the moment, and I'll make this a quick one because I can talk about this for fucking ages. But at the moment, fun pub quiz question for all of you: what language do they speak in Northwest Africa? Take a punt.
Northwest.
It'll be a colonizer language.
Is that Afrikaans?
It's not Afrikaans. It is a colonizer language though. So
French.
I'll narrow that down for you. French, bang on, exactly. Do you know why they speak French? Because the French were there. The French also do not like their colonies. In fact, they force a bunch of restrictions on them, involving economic equity, involving no matter what currency they have, it needs to be two of those make one French franc. That's the conversion. It's set in stone like that, so it ruins their economies. They essentially don't like the French. French don't like them. However, in Africa, as you know, America has been a really shit ally. And so the trust in the West is failing, so everyone turns east to Russia, to China, and that's why you see Wagner having such a strong foothold in Mali. If you're France, how the fuck? Just follow along with it. Follow along with it.
Okay.
So if you're France, how the fuck do you respond to this? Obviously, you can't just go to war with Russia. You know what you do? You find where the exact same thing's happening to Russia. I'll tell you exactly where it's happening, between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Armenia needs some allies. Azerbaijan, funded by Russia. If you're France, you just side with the other group.
Well,
you're doing the exact same thing to Russia as they're doing to you.
Okay.
And that's how countries interact.
Kremer,
Kremer, thank you so much.
Coach, then?
Kremer, thank you so much for giving us the reason why you've decided to move away from the spotlight of being a caster and gone back into the coaching routes. All right, thank you very much for that. Very insightful.
So why did you become a coach?
Let's draw
because
it back.
I like doing that.
But generally, do you enjoy coaching?
I do. I love it. I think.
Okay.
I mean, Palos, you can say as well. The interpersonal part of casting, working in a partnership, the two of us being able to travel together, being able to work with each other. That for me at least, that was more of a highlight than the actual casting. And so having just 5 players to be able to work with, sort of having your own family, I really like that. And especially the region we're in America, we're in the middle of nowhere. So everything we're building is from the ground up.
Where is it again?
We have a legacy here.
Whereabouts are you at the moment?
I am in some town in the middle of nowhere
Missouri
called
or
Mount Vernon in Georgia. The nearest gym is an hour and a half drive. The nearest town is 45 minutes away. We have a Walmart about 2 hours away in Savannah.
2 hours away?
2 hours? Do you get delivery from there or something?
We have like
how'd you get your groceries?
Store. We have a grocery store, and we just grab what we can from that. Yeah, we really are in the middle of nowhere.
Just add one more lane to the highway, guys. It'll fix the infrastructure. Just one more lane. Just one more lane.
Yeah. It's funny this actually. The big fuck off 4-lane road that goes through our entire town is actually bigger than pretty much every footprint of building around it.
That's insane.
So it is the town. The town is just road. If I'm pretty sure, Harry, if you could find it on Google Maps, just to give you an idea of how barren this actually is.
We're
truly
in
the middle of nowhere.
You said that everything is bigger, right? And you had a little story to tell us about how everything is bigger in America as well, Kremer.
Yeah, I mean, we're referring to guns or food here.
Food.
Food. Okay, all right.
Enough about guns.
Okay. We'll start with food. There it is. Okay, so out nowhere it is.
It's just zooming out. I've got no idea where this is.
We actually don't have anything near us.
So just imagine like the Route 66 sign, like a classic American highway sign.
We
and
have
then
those exact signs.
And then
yes!
imagine seeing a small place underneath it. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like if you watch Monsters Inc. when Mike Wazowski thinks he's going to debut on television, and then there's a big letter over his face. That's what this is in terms of highway versus
Pretty much.
location.
Crispy,
by
crunchy
the way,
chicken.
this is recent Google Maps. This is like 2024. Like it looks just like this.
Wow.
The idea as to how remote this actually is.
So give us a little bit more context around it though, Kremer, because you're not only
so-
coaching, but you're also coaching in the collegiate esports scene in the US, right?
Yeah. So collegiate esports has become quite big within the US. Think of it as collegiate basketball teams, just with this time esports. You have it in Valorant, Counter-Strike, Rocket League, Madden, FIFA, everything. There is so much there. Fortnite as well is very big. And so one of the guys I previously coached in England had an offer to go over there and just build a roster for them. And of course, to be in full-time education and to make a team and to manage a team and to run a team is quite a bit to bite off. So essentially, I was picked up as well as not just to coach the team, but to also teach pretty much everyone in the program. Broadcasting, how to cast, how to produce, how to do interviews, how to
Wow.
essentially just operate within esports. And so a lot of the guys, we had some Rocket League players who were already very, very good, so they didn't need that. But especially the ones who were up and coming, they needed a little bit more. And generally, it's both coaching this team and helping out sort of within the program. So while it does say coach, I'm doing quite a bit.
Okay. So how's it going for you then? Right?
Well,
What's the name of the team that you coach?
yeah,
How's the
Bruton-
progress looking like? Who are the players
Bruton
consisting of?
Parker College. And progress is looking very good. We're unfortunately losing one of our players. Nothing to do with animosity between us. He just isn't clicking with America, which I completely understand. So we are looking for another player. Hey, you. Yes, you. Do you
Oh
want to
my
play
God.
Flex? Do you want to play in America?
It's
Well,
Uncle
get in
Sam.
touch with @Kremer32 on Twitter or at Fieldmaster Samo. Both of us would love to hear from you. And if you have a reel or a VOD showing how you perform in your Valorant games, Homer said Counter-Strike there, please send it over and we'll get back to you.
We actually have a
No way.
sponsored segment now. Uncle Kremer
there you
is
go.
there.
That
We
was
want
it.
you. He's pointing straight
Yeah.
down the lens.
We
and
we want you.
enlisting. It's insane.
Yeah.
exactly.
Thanks for paying us for this
Bruton
podcast,
needs
Kremer.
Like I said though, right? Yeah. This was something that I was sort of trying to get out of you earlier as well. You were saying like the American lifestyle didn't click with this guy. I just got to ask quickly: is it a scholarship that you're on there then while you're like
yeah,
doing
full ride.
Yeah, so you fully scholarshiped. Fully scholarshiped. I don't know how you'd say it. Fully paid scholarship, right?
Yes, that makes sense.
But yeah, like I don't know, what is it about the American lifestyle that's different that you would say?
Well, I plan on returning there, so I can't think of.
Like
I'll
the
say anything too
food, right?
The food is really sweet. The food is really sweet. When I came back from, I've only been back in England for about 5 days now, 5 to 10 days. For the first like 3 or 4 days, I just couldn't eat. Like the food is so sweet in America that when you come back to England, everything's so rich. It tastes so weird. Like it's hard to eat. And so you have to like force yourself to eat like at least a meal a day. Whereas in America, because the food itself isn't that nutritious, you can eat loads.
Yeah.
And so you end up eating more without realizing it. Because everything's sweeter, that's worse for you. And so you end up having to like self-regulate loads. Drinking water is really effective for that, by the way. So every time you're hungry, just have a couple of swigs. But keep going through that. Get back to England, and it's been rough readjusting. Americans aren't funny either. I'm sorry. They're not. Like it's nice being back in England and actually being able to laugh, because I was sick of having to laugh at my own jokes, man.
What nationalities are your players then?
I have. It sounds like the start of a bad joke. I've got an Estonian, a Lithuanian, an Italian, an American, and another Brit.
Okay, so it's a full
Enter
EMEA
into the bar.
roster then.
Full EMEA apart from the American.
Mate,
but
just
to be honest,
bring them to Challengers East. You're welcome. I'm sure.
Why we actually? I'm fairly. What you got a story about My players, before we flew out there, did play the Challenger East qualifiers.
Nice.
Unfortunately, they ended up against cheaters, and the admins only banned the cheaters after they'd played, and so they couldn't progress.
That's a shame. That is a shame.
Yeah, and so it was a all right, GG, go next, and here we are in America.
Damn.
Hopefully, when we're all back for summer, though, we may give it a crack. See how we do.
A little bit of East
Well,
United.
why not?
Happy days.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was asked this question loads at Insomnia, so I'll answer it here. Which is, do you guys generally know the skill gap in collegiate compared to like Europe?
No
Or
idea.
sort of where it lies?
It's like sort of because so to just go on again a little bit of a tangent. My experience with collegiate esports is that I was in the commentary side of it, the casting side of it. As were you, because you worked alongside Leg Day with NECC when
Yeah.
you know that used to still be a big thing. And I mean,
But-
it is
back when they paid their
back
casters.
when
Yeah.
they paid their commentators. Yeah, but like it
Yeah.
was just it was an easy gig, basically, I think is the best way to put it. You got the repetitions. It was like $25 per hour that you spent or something like that. And I think
Which is
as
pretty
someone-
good for caster
yeah,
rates
for
for
someone
collegiate.
starting out, it was good. And they loved us because
Yeah.
we were British and we were the only British casters that they
Exactly.
had on the stream. But like, yeah, I think it's weird because it really, really varies. And when you said that one of your players was stepping away, my immediate thought was that it's the kind of thing that you get where you have like cycles of teams that are like generation after generation. Because in terms of building any kind of dynasty in collegiate, if you want to call it a dynasty or whatever, any kind of like legacy for yourself, that can only last for like max 4 years because it gets chopped and changed consistently. So those names have either got to move on to tier 2 or drop back. But in terms of the gap, I think in America, towards the top end, it's not too far off the pace. Like we got Winthrop in Challengers NA recently. I'm pretty sure we had a couple of other names sort of slip in there as well. So I don't know. It's a pretty wide pool.
Yeah, you pretty much bang on actually. There's about 150 collegiate teams.
Wow.
It's insane.
The top 25 will shoot back, and then like the top 10 will give you a challenge, and then the top 5 are really, really competitive. The
Would you
biggest
consider
problem-
yourselves in the top 10, top 5, top 15?
I would consider us in the top 10. We're a little bit inconsistent at the moment.
Okay.
I think if we all play well, if we all show up, we can easily be top 3. But we need to have the consistency first. You have to. I've lost my trail of thought actually. You have to use that to show up within sort of the top 10. But the consistency ends up just sabotaging them so hard. I think Winthrop, as you just brought up, has a great example. The weekend after they qualified for challengers, they lost 13-3 in officials to us. Like within 5 days, and so it's complete consistency problems. And that's
Kremer
not
to
just us.
challenges.
That's not just us. That's not just Winthrop. That's not just Blinn. That's not just Tamu. It's everyone has consistency issues. And that's partly down to the fact that a lot of playoff dates just happen to coincide with exam season. So right now we're in SEL, NACE, CVAL, CCC, and ECAC playoffs while finals are going on. So
that's the
it's a
thing as
rough
well.
spot to be in.
Like, I find it crazy that Winthrop are in challenges for me, just because, like, not necessarily scheduling wise, but in the UK, for example, to just compare that, because that's another university scene which, quite frankly, I have more experience in. I can remember some of the top teams that you had when the game was just coming out, 2020, 2021, were trying to play in, like, external competitions and stuff, and they were doing all right, but you always do somewhat feel limited by the scope of players that you can actually play with from a university level, and then that's why people say, okay, I actually want to go out and do this and this and this, and reasons why people like, you know, your former IGL on the next in line team that you were coaching for, Rudy, he's at Staffordshire University playing on that roster, but I can maybe only name like one other person that's playing alongside him. It's really difficult to get all of those faces in the same room and make it competitive. That, however, is why NA is so different, because they're literally getting people to like join their team, and they are building who they want, right? It's not a question of, oh, you're studying history, you're doing this, you're doing that. It's you're coming here to play on the team. The degree is the sort of beneficiary that you get off the back of that. And I think you see it with names, and this will sort of touch closer to home for you, Pavlos, perhaps, like Eccles, who said, you know what, maybe my
We
Valorant
play him
career
tonight.
isn't
No,
going
tomorrow.
in the direction I want it
Really?
to.
That is
so
funny.
I'm going to go get an education off the back of it. And I think it's a really mature decision to make.
Yeah, I completely agree. And for a lot of players as well, for them, they know that they're not going to be the best. They know they're not going to be ranked 1. And so they use just what they have to guarantee a free degree, essentially, with that skill. And that's where a lot of guys sort of see that where the esports journey takes them, which I quite like, to be honest. Quite a mature thing to come to the conclusion of.
I've
I
got
mean,
the
it's
emails as well in the Twitter DMs, right? I don't know if you have, Pavlos,
Yeah.
if you ever
same.
get the DMs where it's like, yo, want to come NA, and just like,
Yeah.
as a player sometimes as well, and I'm like, bro, you're
No, I
calling
didn't
the
get
wrong
approached as a
guy.
player.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. You can look at me, plat diamond player, just entering collegiate. No, no, not
You
happening.
actually, if you entered as a plat diamond player, you would not be the worst.
Oh, that's. I don't know
By
how to
quite a
feel about that.
Worrying and refreshing at the same time.
Look,
yeah.
I mean, it's a good thing, right? Because when you're a player, you're at the age usually high school, ending high school, early 20s. You usually think, okay, what's the next part in my life, right? It's that you're starting to build a basis for the rest of your life, whether that's academically, career-wise. So if you have the passion of being a player and you can pursue that while also having a B plan of it being a degree, it's actually one of the best programs that could exist for something like this. Is because one, you're pursuing your passion, you're pursuing something that there's a low likelihood of you making it, but if you do, awesome. But you can also make your parents happy and also know that you got something to fall into if it doesn't work out. And I feel like that's why the US has got a massive collegiate program, not only for esports but for sports in general. Like why they're so competitive. Well, mainly in their own sports that nobody else plays around the world, like American football and baseball. There aren't many countries in the world apart from them that play that.
It's like
play
Japan
those,
are the
those
only
games.
other nation that do baseball, I'm pretty sure, or something like that. But that's the thing for me too. I feel like in some ways though, at the same time, like, oh, it's amazing, and sure, fully take advantage of the system if you can. But to me, it does feel like a little bit superficial at the same time. Like just universities have fuck off money because tuition costs so much. Let's just splooge it all on doing this or doing this or doing this. So like it's cool, and I think it's like as someone who's in esports, and we're always on this podcast complaining like, oh, we're in the winter, there's no money, it's so cold. Oh, I'm
feel that, boys.
Stoking my dream hack fire. It's cold in Jönköping this winter. But like it's nice to know that there is some money that you can just sort of throw around, and even if it does come from like student loans and you've got to repay it for the rest of your life or whatever that is, right? I don't know. It's a weird one. It is a really weird one.
How many universities are in the UK? Do you know?
I think it's like 120, something like that.
150 to 200, roughly.
Nice.
How many do you think are in the US?
Oh, thousands.
Like 500.
Thousands. So how do you get a student to go to your university? You offer esports.
Video game.
You get paid by the government for every single student that goes to your college, and then you get paid again for everyone that graduates. So for universities, having an esports program is how they compete with the big colleges. Because for the big colleges, all they have to do is go, yo, we have D1 basketball teams, and that's so cool, right? And everyone goes, wow, D1 basketball, and so they all go there. And then suddenly all these other universities in the same area don't have anyone because they've all gone to like Texas A&M or they've gone to Georgia Southern or something like that.
The fan culture's insane as well. Like for the American football that they have.
It's don't get me started on their chants, man.
Pipeline.
It pains me.
That is the pipeline to the NFL. It's not like there's any academy stuff. It's like you go from university scholarship to being in the biggest league. Think of it. It was like, imagine if, I don't know, Tier 2 Valorant in EMEA was like, oh, you play at your university and then you go to VCT. Like the jump up is the jump up's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Is there any natural progression from collegiate into challenges or something? I mean, Beacon would be for Northern Europe,
used, right?
Collegiate players get trials all the time.
Mm.
like all the time.
So it's just a talent developing system, and at some
Yeah.
point you get noticed because you're good, and yeah.
Mm.
There's
Yeah,
no like
exactly.
qualification into like any other league. It's not embedded in
Out,
the Valorant system.
you can play the challenger quals when they come up, but outside of that, no.
Okay, right,
Yeah.
gotcha.
I think the whole thing is kind of just like a
Mm.
discussion of how universities choose to spend their resources, and esports is in a very lucky
Mhm.
period where they are effectively the 5 million quid getting spent on a brand new library when the mental health
Yep.
services are really struggling, which is like the classic one that you get in the UK, man. You know, when it's like,
Yeah.
oh, let's build this
Yep.
brand new huge building. We can completely overlook all of the issues that we have as an institution
Mm.
because this new library has books inside it.
Yeah, but you can't underestimate the power of a book.
That's so
Have
true.
you're depressed? Have you tried reading?
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's good.
Whoa.
Keep your mind stimulated.
That's gone somewhere.
Sorry,
Let's solve depression, everybody.
the internal censorship I have that I used to have as a caster has slowly been slipping the longer I've spent off air. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
give 3 interviews from now, I'm going to be cancelled straight after it. I promise you.
I hope not. I hope not. It's a joy having
I
you
hope
around,
not.
man. So you talked about the level in collegiate, right? Well, there's just a few teams. Have you considered moving? You know, how long of a project is this for you in your mind? What's the steps in your career looking like right now? Because even if you don't have things figured
yeah.
out, I'm sure you've got
You
some
know I'm
sort
a man
of
with a plan.
vague idea, right?
Yeah. So both out of esports, I'm currently working on something, and hopefully that will launch fairly shortly. That would involve liberalism, generally just going to very dangerous places and giving medical aid. So hopefully, if that launches, I'll probably be doing that for a while. If I don't get killed doing that, maybe return to coaching. And I mean, from coaching at Bruton, I don't see myself going anywhere. I enjoy the job. I enjoy the people I'm around. I enjoy working with my boss and everyone around me. So really, until something else comes up, and or I end up face down in a ditch somewhere in Burma. It'll be one or the other. So
Wow. Well,
That's been a
it's
really uplifting end to the
It's-
episode.
dude. It's like gamers don't touch grass, but you don't only touch grass. You go into like you go into like war zones.
Look, it's if I don't, no one will. So
Right. Very commendable, mate. Very, very,
I
very,
appreciate that.
very commendable. Yeah, I mean, this podcast so far, and you know, our worlds are so small. You know, we look at gaming, we
Yeah.
look at esports. That's the sphere we look at. There's everything around us, whether that's geopolitics, whether that's war, whether that's you know, things that it's not up to this space to talk about. But it's good to know that, you know, there are people that engage with it
It's an
and try to make the
all-encompassing
world a better
discipline, right?
place.
Like
Yeah.
everyone who, you know, we're all the same. We're all kind of in the same boat, but we're all vastly different at the same time. I feel like that's the
Yeah.
biggest takeaway.
Yeah, for
No,
sure.
I completely agree.
Okay. Well, so you said you're playing against Eccles' team tomorrow. Eccles, by the way, is played in some of the biggest teams in the world of Valorant competitive play. Yeah.
Yes. Our
How's that looking?
It's
You ready?
it's not tomorrow. Sorry, it's on Saturday. We're against
Okay.
we are
State
against
of time.
Maryville University. The roster is Eccles, Aid, Alexander, Sways, JC Stanny, and ZK. I don't know how we're going to do against them. In fact, I do know how we're going to do against them. We're going to win, but you know, to be
Nice.
modest and to be humble, I'm going to say,
Nice.
yeah, we'll see.
I was gonna say you could have said Eccles, and then for any other names you could have made them up, and I still would have believed you. I do know who JC Stanny is for the record, but
Yeah,
but
and
yeah.
Alexander is also a bit of a well-known name. However, yeah, I forgot I can talk shit now. I'm no longer a caster. Yeah, unfortunately for what I've heard from Maryville is that they're a 6-man roster because you have to take the 5 players and their therapist. And that's sort of how they keep the roster together because there are a lot of raging, in that team. So
Oh.
hopefully, if we can fix some
But not the
frustrating
UK
maps.
LAN type of raging.
No. As in
No?
like calling a tactical pause, standing up and yelling at each other. Like having a shouting
So
match.
UK LAN type of raging.
Yeah, but
That's exactly UK LAN.
UK LAN, you do it for shits and gigs. You yell for the sake of yelling. You don't
that's
actually,
true.
you're not
That's true. I
actively
can't
angry at them.
imagine that these guys are getting together, going to the bar, calling a pause to have a Jaeger bomb, and then going back to the game. You know, that's the UK way of doing it. Drinking mid-series.
Yeah, also, there's a good chance they just don't even show up because it would mean Eccles having to come off Counter-Strike.
Oh, is he playing 2 different games at once?
He's not playing Valorant, so I don't know what else he's playing.
Okay, interesting.
I've spoken a lot of shit. It's gonna be embarrassing if we lose here, isn't
There's drama going on in NA right now, guys.
Bro, yeah. If you lose, these points you made are getting clipped. There's no way that you get off scot-free with this. So you better win, man. You better win.
I've made my bed now, haven't I?
Hey, look, all free promo for the Skill Issues brands. Go follow us on Twitter, Instagram, 5 stars on Spotify, please. You know the deal.
Yes, and I think that's a good wrap up for this episode. Again, Kremer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You open our eyes to the world outside of gaming and esports, while you're also in as well. So it's good to have you again. And I miss you, man. And I miss you. Ever think of coming back to casting?
Yeah, of course, brother. Any time. I mean, I don't know what you're on about, bro. We got gigs in India this summer. what do you mean, man?
He's leaking. He's leaking leaks as well.
Leaks, yo, bro. Come on.
Bring me with you. Bring me with you.
Bring you. Can you fit in my suitcase?
Mate, I would love some chai and naan. I would love it.
What's your flexibility like, Hazza? You can fit.
When you said flexibility, I thought you were asking about my calendar. I was getting excited, but you are asking me to bend inside his suitcase. So no, I'm not very flexible. I'm a gamer, right? I don't think I can touch my toes. No, I can't.
For everybody listening, he tried. He tried, he failed.
I respect the effort, though.
We tried and we succeeded getting into 10 episodes, everybody. Thank you for all your support up until this point. It's been 10. It's been 10, and we hope we give you another 10 and more 10 episodes after that as well, and keep on going, keep on growing. I hope to give you entertainment of gaming and esports. And all the rest. Have a very good evening, afternoon, day, morning, whatever time it is you're watching or listening. See you, everybody. Much love and goodbye.